How y'all doing? I'm Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. And to our regular listeners, welcome back. With me, as always, is my co-host, the slimmest co-host in the world, Mike the Pig Crum. Mike, how are you, sir?
I wish I was the slimmest co-host in the world. I got a haircut.
Your face is looking a little bit slimmer. I thought,
is
man, I don't know. Is that smoke and mirrors or?
I love you, Paul. I don't know. To be honest, I haven't weighed in since I got back from Disneyland because it kind of takes a minute to get back on track. You know, your pattern is off when you spend a week on vacation. You have to get back and you have to get your sugars back in order, and it's not as simple as like you get there and it's like, okay, back to breakfast and then nothing and then dinner, and you kind of have to ease yourself back into it. So I don't know. I'm just gonna take it. I do like my Star Wars shirt though.
I was gonna say I like that hoodie. Is that from, or that sweatshirt? Is that from Disney?
Yes. So this is the designer. I met her there. She also voices Ahsoka Tano on the show. Which when Brenden sees this, he better be freaking out. On Clone Wars, she is like Ahsoka Tano's whole setup. She like did all of her stuff. Yeah. And then she's a designer, and so she designed some Star Wars stuff. And when you bought it there, you where is it? There it is. You get that signed picture. You get to meet her, take a picture with her, and everything. And it was pretty awesome. You know, it was cool. I bought it just to kind of like do the stuff. I'm like, oh, this shirt looks cool. I'll buy it. And it's it looks good, even on me.
Like, one of those cool spray painted ones you'd get like in the mall. That looks really cool.
Yeah, that's kind of the theme she had was very much like that for most of the tops like this that weren't button downs and stuff.
It's funny because just a couple of days ago, I bought my wife and I some Star Wars t-shirts. I bought her a Jar Jar Binks and me a Yoda. I got her a Jar Jar Binks kind of like as a joke because, everybody, all true Star Wars fans kind of hate that character.
Yes. Ironically, the person who played that character ended up playing one of the most badass. He just had a small part in Mandalorian and one of the most badass Jedis I've ever seen. And it's cool that they went back and like, hey, you got stuck playing this character that kind of everyone hated. So we're going to let you play a character that he's so badass in the movie. He basically helped save Grogu when they do a flashback of when Grogu was escaping when Order 66 came through. And it's just an awesome scene. And it was so cool. They cast him for that.
That is very cool. Well, Mike, before we get too off topic, where can we find you on Twitter, sir?
At CD Piglet, guys. Nice and easy.
Unfortunately, the conductor of the Jake Ferguson hype train, Mr. Brenden Fergy Smith, couldn't be here tonight, but make sure to follow him on Twitter at Brenden_Smith26. I am Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. As the weeks pass, we get closer and closer to Mike making good on his Arizona Cardinals bet. We are a little over 2 weeks away from Mike making and eating a Red Baron pizza live on stream. Guys, unfortunately, we don't have a guest tonight, but our next guest is an awesome one. I can promise you that. So tonight, instead of a guest doing a 3-round mock draft for the Cowboys, Mike and I are going to do a full first-round mock for all 32 teams. Mike, how many first-round grades do you have this year?
I got 16.
Okay.
I'm battling with like 3 other players that like I feel like at least one of them I want to put in the first, but I haven't yet. But as of now, and I think it'll end up just being 16. I don't think I'm going to move anybody up.
How many tweener first-round picks do you have?
Tyleik Williams, Omarion Hampton, Will Johnson could probably be considered a tweener. I have him in the second, but I think he could be considered a tweener. Damn, I wish I had that. I would go through and find out. I'd say there's a good, if I did tweener grades, I'd say there's a good 10 people. I would put Donovan Ezrukwu, I think is how you say it. The defensive end from I'm going to get that wrong. Let me look real quick. Boston, is it Boston College? Where the hell is he from? I just did an article.
I meant to write it on the sheet and I did it, man.
It's okay. I did top 5 defensive ends that just came out. and he was one of them. And it was Boston College. Ha ha! Huzzah!
Huzzah! Nice. So, I know the year that we did this podcast, I remember, I was watching the first round, and I was also looking at Twitter, right? And you were like counting down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I guess that was how many picks you had guessed accurately in that year. But I'm curious, what's the most first round picks you've guessed accurately in a year?
I remember one year where I got 19 guys exactly the team and the position, the spot.
Oh,
19.
wow.
You don't get that often. Most of the time you could get 10 to 15, especially if you know the quarterback, stuff like that. But yeah, I had one year where I had 19. I had another year where I guessed 3 trades in a mock draft. 2 of the trades were the exact teams and positions. And then one was that there was a trade, but it was a different team that traded up.
Nice, man. That's impressive. How are you feeling about this year's draft? Do you think it's going to be pretty unpredictable, or do you think it's going to be pretty straightforward?
Oh, this one's going to be unpredictable. This one's because there's a quarterback that nobody can – there's 2 quarterbacks that nobody can figure out where they're going to go.
Yeah.
There's a running back in the top, and I think now he's pretty cemented top 10. But that's always a question. The wide receiver, the clear wide receiver one that's only a wide receiver, people are waffling on. You have the speed guy, Matthew Golden, who's kind of a tweener first, second grade. I have him in round 1, but he's kind of back in. But because he ran so fast, he doesn't really play to that speed. But when you run 4.29, teams are going to move you up just on like, oh, man, what we could do with that. I think this is a crazy draft. Like from 4 on, anything could happen.
Yeah, it should be a fun night, man. I'm looking forward to this year's draft for sure. Before we get to our mock draft, we're going to talk about the Cowboys' latest move and what continues to be an active offseason for the Cowboys. They went out and made yet another low-key addition at a major position by trading for New England Patriots quarterback Joe Milton. Stephen Jones stated earlier in the week that the Cowboys weren't done making moves, and he was telling the truth, apparently. Mike, I think this was a low-key, sneaky good move, but I'm curious, is Joe Milton purely a project type of player? Or does he have the tools to be a starter, you think?
No, he definitely has the tools to be a starter. He has, I would say, a top 5 arm in the NFL right now. Like, he can make any throw Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen could make power-wise. I'm not going to say he has the touch or the accuracy consistently on those, but if you're throwing a Hail Mary, he could throw it 80 yards in the air and would make the end zone like clear, like not a struggle at all. And he's also has enough mobility. He's not a scrambler, but he would be like Mahomes is, where it's like he gets away at the right time and then gets you 8 yards for a first down on third down to keep a drive going to steal a game. He has those kind of like abilities. It's the quarterback stuff he has to learn. The defense, the sliding protections, the what's coming at him, what does he need to change, what touch to put on the ball. Like, he has that kind of stuff. But as far as like, if you're talking talent, like what you want in a framework, he's that guy. You just got to be able to teach him.
Yeah, I was listening to Brian Broaddus talk about Milton and just talk about the trade, and he seems to like Milton pretty well. I know that Brian Broaddus doesn't usually trash players or things like that, but I was pretty encouraged by what I heard from Broaddus. He even said that his processing skills aren't as bad as nearly people make him out to be.
I agree. They're not good, but they're not. Yeah. I mean, Buffalo wanted the team to win, to get, or was it Commanders? I can't remember, but the team, was Buffalo. The game he played at the end was against vanilla defenses and all this and that, but you still have to be able to see it and make the throws, and so he looked good, and he looked pretty good in the preseason. Like, he was a lot better than I had him projected. Personally, he moved up from that last year in the little bit we got to see him.
It sounds like a developmental type of quarterback. Mike, do you think Dallas is good at doing that?
Well, I mean, track record, Romo, undrafted free agent, all pro. Dak, 4th round pick, all pro. What talent did Cooper Rush have? As like talent wise, he ain't even in Milton's like stratosphere.
Yeah.
And I think he was 9-5 as a starter.
Right.
That means you developed him some. I think they should get credit for how well they've developed lower end picks. There's so few quarterbacks that aren't top first round top picks. Like Lamar Jackson is an outlier, and he was a first round pick, but he was at the end of the first round. But if you look, there's like Brady was one, Dak was one, Romo was one. Most of them are like top 15 picks.
Yeah, I thought about Romo, I thought about Dak, but I was like, man, it feels like they just kind of looked out on those guys. You think about Dak's work ethic, and then Romo just kind of sitting for a while and being a student of the game. It's kind of, I didn't want to take away credit from Dallas, but it also was like hard to give them credit for developing those guys too.
Well, then how do you say Lamar Jackson developed? Like that guy was a first round pick, talented, this and that. Like the lower guys you should get more credit on for development than. You know what I mean? How hard is it to develop Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen? Like they got all the talent in the world. You know what I mean? So I think taking an undrafted and a 4th round guy, although Dak was probably a 2nd round guy that had some issues that dropped him a little, but still, that's a Geno Smith, those type guys that don't always do as well.
Well, I guess, just for conversation's sake, it's like you think about the quarterbacks they actually go out and pick besides Dak, like the Stephen McGee's and the Mike Whites, who Stephen McGee never really did much of anything. And then Mike White, we let him go, and he turned out to be a pretty good backup. So
solid.
Yeah,
he was a good backup. I'm not saying that every guy they get is going to do well, but if you got Dak and Romo on your resume,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And you turn them into all pros.
Yeah.
I can give him credit for that.
I guess you might be able to give him credit for Jason Garrett too, right? As a player.
I mean, he was a solid backup, and then Troy was 1st overall pick. Danny White was the 1st pick in the supplemental draft.
Right.
But I mean, Troy Aikman was a Hall of Famer. So
exactly,
the organization under Jerry Jones has done really good at quarterback. It's developing teams around him that's been there.
Building. Yeah, the team building around him.
Jimmy left.
How confident are you that Milton could go out and win a game here in 2025?
Cooper Rush was 9-5 as a starter here. I mean, Milton's going to be and you know what? Milton will probably lose more than Cooper Rush did because Cooper Rush understood how to play the position well. And so anytime he played a team that wasn't a great team, he gave you a chance to win. But Milton, you're going to run into games he could win. Like, I don't want him playing Philadelphia, but in a lot of the game, I'd say if he played 8 games this year, he could win 4 games. I would bet on that.
All right. Do you think that he could beat? We play the AFC West. Do you think he could beat the Chargers?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that he?
When have the Chargers won a game like where you're like, oh, they do that a lot where they no show, but they do have Harbaugh, so it'd be more difficult than in the past, but I think they could.
You think he could beat the Bears?
Yes, at our house. I'd worry about it in Chicago.
Interesting. Yeah, seems like you think pretty highly of Milton, man.
I think very highly of our team. Of our team is they won 12 games for a reason. Our team has trouble when they run into the real contenders. Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, San Francisco, Philly, Detroit now I would categorize had gotten there. Let's see how they do without their coordinators. But yeah, I think if you play him against 20 of the teams in the league, I think he could do enough to allow the rest of our team to win a game.
All right. Do you think he could beat the Green Bay Packers?
I got to see, possibly. I got to see what Green Bay does this this draft and what they bring in and what they do and everything, they may take a little dip down, even though they have a very good play caller. I also want to see what our offense is like. Can Schottenheimer and Clayton Adams bring a little bit of what LaFleur does for Green Bay? Because I think we're more talented than Green Bay. I just think Green Bay has a play caller that does a better job of taking advantage of holes in our defense than McCarthy did the other way around.
I'm surprised. I thought you were a little bit lower on the Cowboys than how you're speaking now. So that's encouraging.
I don't see them at all as contenders. If you're talking about like making any kind of playoff run, no, they don't. They ain't got the team for that. But they are a borderline playoff team. They're right in that playoff realm.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think you already said you gave your evaluation of him coming into the draft last year, or am I mistaken there?
I watched 2 games of him. Big arm, could move a little bit, didn't have the touch.
Yeah.
He had a lot of developing to do, but I understood that. I had him as a day 3 grade, I think a 5th or a 6th.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought he would go earlier because of his arm. I was like, somebody will probably take a shot at him 3rd, 4th round, late 3rd, early 4th. So him getting to the 6th round kind of surprised me. But I didn't do a lot of work on him because quarterback with Dak in the fold, and now especially with Milton, I'm not really running through quarterbacks like that.
Yeah, I know a lot of Tennessee players were kind of hard to evaluate because of the offense that they ran and stuff. So it was difficult to, really get an eye of what they're capable of. So, nice to know that Milton at least has what it takes to play in this league, but, still a work in progress. But, hey, I'm glad he's on our team, man.
Agreed. A good, cheap option the next 3 years, and it'll at least give us a fun preseason. And knock on wood, we don't lose Dak again. But if he does, he'll give you some. Okay, is this going to be another Dak? Is this our next guy?
Yeah. Mr. Sport, hey, you got to show us a picture of that Joe Milton jersey. Those Tennessee jerseys are actually pretty clean. Simple but clean.
Put it on Twitter X.
Where would you rank Milton in this draft class as far as among quarterbacks?
Do you mean in my just knowing what I knew from college, or now that I've seen some of him currently?
Yeah, like knowing what you know from college and, compared to the quarterbacks in this class.
Okay, so I would probably put him Cam, Shador, Dart, Milroe, somewhere after Milroe. So 5, 6. Because I do like what's the Ohio State kid? Howard. I do like Howard. I was surprised how much I liked him. But he had a lot of talent on his team too. So that, you have to figure out how much is that like a Cooper Rush situation, But I would say 5, 6, somewhere in there.
Surprised the national champion quarterback isn't getting more love than what he's gotten so far.
He only has so much. He's like a upgraded, a much better, but he's thought of like you think of Cooper Rush.
Right.
Like, he does the right things. He gets the ball to the right place. He makes the right plays, but he doesn't have, overly athletic ability. He doesn't have an overly good arm. He's not super accurate, like he just he knows how to get the ball to his playmakers and let them make plays. And look at the Niners. Brock Purdy turned that into making a Super Bowl, making an NFC championship game. So not nothing, but it's not first, second round pick stuff. He'd probably be a day 3 guy you take a dart at.
Gotcha. I know you like the value of Milton, getting him in the 5th round, but when you think about the success the Cowboys have had in the 5th round, would you kind of be curious to see who might be there, or are you just kind of happy that we got Milton?
We got 2 other picks, and when I look at the options at quarter, I hate the quarterback after Howard. I don't like any of them. Yeah. And Howard, if he goes in the 3rd, I definitely don't want to at any time us using a 3rd round pick on a quarterback.
Right.
So, getting Milton, and then if you draft him, you don't get the 7th in return. So, I like what they did over using a fifth, because they would have used a fifth, sixth on a quarterback. They just would have.
Milton in the fifth is a lot better than Ewers at 44.
Oh, you are, dude. You.
The fact that was even discussed is crazy, dude.
Ewers in the fifth might have been like, ew, for me.
Oh, wow. He's that bad, huh?
He's just not he's not the guy I would want to take a shot on.
Kind of crazy, because he was like, it seemed like he had been discussed about, being a top 10, top 5 pick there for a little while.
No. Just
no. Yeah, the truth always reveals itself at some point.
Yeah, I have a fifth on him, but I wouldn't want him in the fifth either. I don't know if that makes sense. It just
no, it does.
Some guys I don't want, on as not like Isaiah Bond, super fast receiver. I just don't feel like I draft him, even if I was looking for a receiver in the third. I just feel like he might be an athlete that's not really a receiver, and that worries me. So it's guys like that where I was like, yeah, I know they're a third round grade. Just if I was picking, I still don't know if I'd take him unless I got like he's at the end of the fourth. Oh, all right. Well, I could take a shot at him here. That type of thing.
Well, we traded Milton for a day 3 pick, and we got another day 3 pick in return. So I'm curious, who are some of your favorite day 3 picks this year, Mike?
I got there's one that Damian Martinez from Miami, running back from Miami, might sneak into round 3, but there's so many running backs that I'm gonna guess he's round 4 or day 3 pick. So he would be one. I also like Devin Neal from Kansas. They are Martinez a little bit more burst, but they're both kind of like get you what's blocked, see it, run it well. If your offensive line is good, they could average 6 yards a carry, and you'd be like, wow, what a good running back, when really they're just smart enough to find the right spot and get the maximum yardage they can.
Yeah.
I like both of them on offense. On defense, I like safety Jalen Reed from Penn State. I think he's a special teams guy right out of the box. He can play special teams. He can also play the run on defense right out of the box, and he has the athletic ability to be rangy. I just want to develop that for a year. Let him learn to see it, get into a film room, get with the coaches, learn to use that athletic ability. And then I also like Thor Griffith, the Louisville defensive tackle that transferred from Harvard. So he's from Harvard, so he's smart.
Right.
Sneaky fast for his size. Like, he'll beat guys off the snap, and then he's super powerful, and his name's Thor Griffith, dude. Like, I just don't see how that guy doesn't become some kind of decent starter in the league with that name at that position. So
sounds like a fan favorite type of guy.
Yeah, and I just think he would develop. He's strong enough to hold up against strong linemen and beat weaker ones, and he's quick enough to beat slower-footed power linemen. So while he's going to be a day 3 guy, so he's not going to be this game changer, but he'll make splash plays depending on who he's against, and I like that about him.
Yeah, like hearing all that, man. Sounds like a fun type of player, man. Especially not just a fun guy, but potentially if he in the right system, with the right coaching staff, could develop into something too.
I'm trying to get Vach to watch him. Vach and Brian on the Doing All Right podcast are talking about. They brought up Thor Griffin as one of the guys they may not get to, and I commented like, he's pretty fun watch. Like it's deep. It's one technique play, but he has some ability as a one technique to make a swim over move and make a guy miss because he gets off the line quick, make a play in the backfield or get a sack. And you're like, yeah, well, he's only going to get you like 3-4 sacks a season tops. But it's like he will get a pressure or two if he's not facing, Tyler Smith.
Hey, man, I don't think sacks is everything. I mean, just having a player who's going to make the right play every time is nice to have as well,
Yes. Yeah. He's a guy that has a baseline to be a starter or a good rotational piece as a day 3 piece. And if he develops, he could be a like quality starter. Not
Right.
a wrecker, but a quality starter that makes plays.
Yeah, I was listening to Jeff Kavanaugh and Brian Broaddus. They're one of their more recent episodes, and Jeff was talking about how this might be a good draft to where you don't just swing for upside. You just take guys who are like ready to play, and maybe don't have a lot of upside, but can just contribute right away. And I have to agree with them.
Floor guys.
Yeah, floor guys.
I agree that this is one of those drafts where you would want to get like on day 2, get a couple of floor guys you can plug and play.
All right, Mike. I'm not sure how you're going to respond to this question, but I am curious. Is there anyone rumored to be going in the first round that you have a day 3 grade on?
Not day 3. Shamar Stewart and Michael Williams are like considered possible top 10 picks. I got 3rd round grades on them, but there's no day 3 guys that are talking about the first.
Yeah, that might have been a little too steep of a fall there.
How about Deion Walker? He's got a lot of issues, this and that, but he's got a lot of talent. Could a team at the end of the first round go, F it, man? I trust my team's culture. This guy is a game changer type defensive tackle. Could he sneak in 28, 29, 30, 31, 32? And I have him in the 4th round based on his character. I'd worry about how he played.
I heard that Jeff Kavanaugh and Brian again were talking about how James Pierce has been someone who's been taken off a lot of boards because of his off the field stuff. So I wonder what's going to happen with him.
Yeah, he was 3rd in my top 5 defensive end, edge rusher things. And yeah, I heard it's a very strong chance that he could be one of those guys somebody takes in day 3 now. That Josh Ball. Josh Ball was thought of as like a top 50 prospect. He had his issues and fell into Dallas in round 5. It feels like a guy like day 3, and people are like, let's just take him. If things work out all right, you get a first round talent, for a cheap risk.
What's unfortunate is it sounds like Luther Burden might fall in the first round, and I don't think he would be an option at 44 because of his like attitude and stuff.
I wouldn't care if they ended up getting a corner or traded back and getting a DT.
Yeah,
I would not guarantee that if Burden got to 44 that Dallas wouldn't take him. Diva stuff has not bothered the Joneses before.
Yeah, just kind of. I guess they would be. My thought was that how would he fit in with CeeDee Lamb, because apparently he doesn't like to play second fiddle to people.
Good luck on that. You got a top 3 wide receiver in the league. You're gonna have to prove
Exactly. All right, the defensive end Donovan is Ruaku is rising up draft boards. What is your evaluation of him?
He was 5th on my top 5 edges, and I really wanted to put him 3rd or 4th. Like, he is a pass rush specialist, so he's not your edge setter.
Yeah.
But he can get to the quarterback. I think he had like 16.5 sacks last year. Let me get my notes up on him. I wanted him. That's my guy. You know how you have ideal, like, the team wants like defensive end, wide receiver, corner, running back. Like, they want that pairing early. This is one of the guys that I was like, well, if he drops to 44, I would not be like, damn, I wanted a DT here. I'd be like, that's a great pick. You pair him with Micah. Let me see what I got here.
You think he could fall to the 2nd round?
I think he's a 2nd round player. He's one of the ones I thought about putting in the 1st, but he's only pass rush. So, he's got to work a little bit on his run game and edge setting before I can get him into the 1st. But yeah, I think there's a good chance he falls into the 2nd, but he's like DeMarcus Lawrence. Like, somebody will go up and get him at like 34, 35, 36 before he could fall. He had 8 forced fumbles. Oh, see, I deleted it. Darn it. I got it right here. All right.
8 forced fumbles. Jeez.
In his 3 years, he forced 8 fumbles. He had 16 sacks last year. 2024 consensus All-American. He won the Ted Hendricks Award Defensive End of the Year. Previous winners of that was Hutchinson, Latu, Chubb, Jonathan Allen. 21 tackles for a loss, 16.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles in 20. My
goodness.
So he makes plays behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And honestly, in week 1, whoever drafts him, when it gets to 3rd and 7 and they move him in, he'll be productive. It's just how many snaps can you give him early? Because if you're a good team and you end up throwing him out there, people are going to run at him early on. He's going to need a year or two to build up and become a possible plus edge setter.
Micah, Donovan, Peyton Turner, and Kenneth Murray all rushing the passer in some sort of blitz package. How sick would that be?
Dante Fowler had 10
and Dante Fowler, dude.
And Osa. Disgusting.
Yeah, totally disgusting. Who's another player you think could get drafted earlier than predicted and is deserving of it?
Donovan Jackson, offensive lineman out of Ohio State, has some guard tackle flex. He's been considered a 2nd-round grade, but with Josh Simmons' injury possibly pushing him down, if people have gotten good reports on that, but you just never know how many teams took him off the board. And there's been some stuff about Kelvin Banks that have been a worry, and he's been falling further than I think he should. And maybe that somebody moves Donovan Jackson up. Somebody takes Tyler Booker really early, like top 12 early, and maybe that elevates Donovan Jackson into the back end of the 1st round.
Jeff Kavanaugh seems to be excited at the idea of Cowboys going O-line with pick 12.
I don't think they will, but I'm good. I'm not. Okay, so there's a lot of people that are like, F that, man. You can't have 3 O-line. That's dumb. You build up other than quarterback, O-line is the most important thing on the field. Now, I would prefer wide receiver. That's preference. For sure. But if Ted McMillan goes and you're telling me, I got to take, a guy that I don't have as high as Will Campbell, and Will Campbell falls, and you're like, no, we should take this guy that's like 10 picks later because he's a wide receiver. That's dumb. That's dumb team building. Take Will Campbell, and if he plays tackle, great. If he has to move to right guard, great. Just make your O-line better is not a bad thing.
Definitely not. All right, Mike, here we are. We're going to start our mock draft here. Let me get this pulled up. I'm actually pretty excited for this because I haven't done a mock draft in a little while. So curious to see how this goes, and really curious to see how, how the board falls and what we end up getting here at pick 12.
All right.
So, of course, I think it's pretty safe to say that at pick 1, it's going to be Cam Ward, yes?
Correct. They've even established that. They've canceled meetings with other people. Tennessee's taking Cam Ward at 1.
All right, pick 2. It sounds like Travis Hunter has kind of started to maybe be the favorite there, but also I've heard a lot about Shedeur Sanders. What are your thoughts here?
I went with Abdul Carter to pair with Myles Garrett. They have good cornerbacks. They do need wide receivers, but I don't think they're going to pass on the what do you do now as a offense with Myles Garrett and Abdul Carter coming at you?
Heard that. That is a pretty nice tandem for sure. Pick 3, New York Giants. Where we at?
That's Travis Hunter. Unfortunately, they're going to have Hunter and Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson. Hunter will probably play corner because they don't have great corners. I hate putting him on that team, but it is what it is.
So you think they'll pass on Shedeur Sanders?
I do. That's what it's sounding like right now.
Okay, there goes Travis Hunter. Pick 4, New England Patriots.
I have a trade. I have New Orleans moving up. You could do proposed trade and do it from New Orleans. From New Orleans to New England. So hit next. Okay. No, New Orleans first, then next New England.
Where are you, Patriots?
Straight down. Right, left, up, 2, up. There it is.
Bang.
All right.
Pick 9.
Do 1, 8, and then you could just do 40 in a first next year just to make it go through. I don't care about the details.
Just straight up for pick 4, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I added one later, but we're doing a 1-round mock, so it doesn't matter.
All right, the Saints are on the clock. Is this going to be Shedeur Sanders?
Yes, they're coming up. They can get out of the Derek Carr contract post June 1st cut next year and save themselves $50 million.
I got you.
So yeah, they come up and get their quarterback.
Is this a rumor that you've heard?
No, this was just me going, somebody's going to move up for Sanders.
Okay.
Who do I want to make it? And I was like, the best option that was the closest was the Saints. But I think somebody might move up there.
Right. All right, here we are with the Jaguars. It sounds like Mason Graham has been their guy.
Correct.
Okay. Pick number 6, man. I thought maybe the Raiders might be in the Sanders business, but after re-signing Geno for a couple of years, maybe they're not so quarterback needy.
Exactly. And what would help Geno Smith out a lot?
Either Ted McMillan or Ashton Jeanty, my friend.
Ashton Jeanty is the pick. Raheem Mostert is their RB1. I saw Foots the King talking about they need this and that and the other. And I'm like, they're not going to reach for these just because they need them when they need a running back and a top 5 players right there.
Well, I think also, you remember when we were on with Brenden just a couple of weeks ago, I think it was just the 3 of us. We were talking about the Cowboys picks, and he was saying, I don't expect much this year. I'd like to be excited about a player, so give me Ted or give me Ashton Jeanty. I kind of think that's where the Raiders are as well.
I agree. And I considered Ted, but I believe Jeanty is a higher prospect, and I can't go in with a biased running back thing. This isn't me making the picks.
Right. All right, number 7, man. The Jets are being rumored to take Ashton Jeanty, which I think is crazy. But who do you got?
They need Will Campbell. Tyron Smith
for sure.
Gone. Yeah. They need O-line. Will Campbell makes sense there. Mimbu makes sense too. I took the best rated one.
Right. Panthers, they could use a wide receiver. Who do you got them going for?
The word is they love Mykel Williams. They need edge, and this is not a move I would make, but I have heard that if Mykel Williams is there, that's going to be their guy. So I was like, I'm going to listen to that and go with it.
Oh my God, there's thought that Mykel Williams might not even make it to pick 8.
Yeah, they're right now. Man, I'm trying to think. I heard it on a maybe it was Locked On Cowboys, but they were talking about drafts, and they were like, if Mykel Williams gets to, it would take a lot for them not to take him. That's what I heard.
It's so crazy how, guys like Foots and Vach and Broadus and Kavanaugh, how they feel about Mykel Williams opposed to like NFL GMs, man. That's insane to me.
Yeah, he has the frame of what could be a great player, and it worked with Trayvon Walker. So, it hadn't worked for a while, but the Jags made it work with Trayvon Walker, a non-productive guy that turned into a productive guy at the NFL level. For me, and guys like Vach especially describes it really well, how I do. A guy that doesn't really have a plan. He just kind of wins on ability in college.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't want to use an early pick on that. Like, even if it's going to work out, that's a high risk for that.
Right. Yeah, I like the way that Zach broke him down, talking about everything he didn't like about him. It really made me, not that I know much about him anyway, but I liked his evaluation of him. Yeah. Here we are, number 9 with the New England Patriots, Mike.
This one's going to hurt, y'all. Tet. I don't see them passing up a weapon like that for Drake May with Drake May's arm. So I got Tatoria McMillan going to them and giving Drake May a big guy he can launch the ball downfield.
I thought you might go offensive line, honestly, but
it was that I had McMillan rated higher than Mimbu. And I think McMillan is like one of the really, really top rated players in the draft. Yeah. And I hope he makes it to 12 because I think Dallas would take him. Yeah. But I felt like at this point, it would be unrealistic for me to be like, skip Ted McMillan so he falls to us.
Okay, Ted. Adios, amigo. Let's see what happens. Here we are with the Chicago Bears at number 10. Will they add to that offensive line more?
Yeah, Mimbu, they need a right tackle. If Genty's there, they'll take Jeanty for Ben Johnson. But they really put a lot of money in free agency into that line, and they lost an edge rusher already. I really consider Jalen Walker here. Yeah. I think that's a high possibility. Right. But in the end, I went with offensive line because the coach is a new coach, offensive coach. why not build up your side of the ball?
Okay. Armand Mimbu, welcome to the Chicago. So here we are at the 49ers. Are they going to add to their defensive line? Are they going to take a Tyler Warren? What do you got for us, Mike?
Jahdae Barron. They're going to replace the cornerback they lost in free agency. They don't care anything about the link stuff, any of that. They're going to take there's a lot of talk about Will Johnson being the top rated. For most, Jahdae Barron is the number one. Will Johnson more looks the part. Jahdae Barron plays a little bit better, is a little bit better technician than him. So I think the Niners go Jahdae Barron here.
How do you feel about the Cowboys taking Jahdae Barron?
I don't think they will, but I'd love it. I think he'd be a Jordan Lewis replacement day one, plug and play him. But I don't think he has the length and size that they prefer at cornerback.
All right, Mike, here we are, pick 12, the moment everybody's been waiting for, and the board is actually looking pretty gross outside of a Matthew Golden, but we've got some offensive line help here. We've got a Will Johnson, who I know some people are excited about, and then a Jalen Walker, who and some people are indifferent, and I know you weren't his biggest fan.
Well, the thing is Jalen Walker is going to be the pick here, but I'm going to explain that Atlanta is going to come up to make a move to get him because they need edge rush help.
Okay, what's the trade?
So you just do 15 and 46 for 12, and I put 204. It might be 174, but I did 204.
I would love this so much, dude.
Yeah, move down a couple spots, pick up a second. My thing is, I think Dallas might move down a little bit further, maybe 18 or 20, where you guarantee yourself a second round. But since they accepted it with me adding in the extra later pick, I was like, Atlanta's fine. Atlanta needs an edge rusher. They can come up and get Jalen Walker.
Man, how crazy would it be if the Cowboys moved back twice in the first round?
I would like it.
I wouldn't be mad about it. Okay, here we are, pick 13 with the Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins select Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, Ohio State. He's my highest rated. He's gotten a clear bill of health from what I've heard. He should be fine for training camp. Yeah. And so I don't see a reason to move him down when they need a tackle more than they do a guard. So I went with the guy they could put at left tackle if they wanted right off the bat.
Gotcha. I think the consensus pick right here is Tyler Warren for the Colts, yeah?
I actually picked Tyler Booker for him. I went offensive guard. Tyler Warren was a consideration, but I think they need to block up for their quarterbacks. And if you look through their needs, they need multiple offensive linemen.
Okay.
All right, now
here we are.
Take a guess. Who do you think I went with the 15th pick?
I think he went with Derek Harmon, defensive tackle out of Oregon.
Okay. Me, great pick. Who do you think I believe Dallas would pick? Because I was doing a what would Dallas do draft.
Okay, Stephen Jones is on record saying the Cowboys want an explosive wide receiver too. I think you're going to go with Matthew Golden here.
You are close. That is the right position, and I agree. Matthew Golden is explosive, but I believe Emeka Egbuka is the guy they like more than. If you look, Golden did not get a 30 visit. Emeka Egbuka did. And not that they always have to go by their 30 visits, but I think when they get Egbuka in the building, like Tyler Smith, they're going to fall in love with him. And with Ted McMillan off the board, I think Egbuka is going to be the pick.
Well, the way that you've talked about Egbuka, the way that Kavanaugh's talked about him, the way that Zach's talked about him, I mean, hey, I ain't mad about this pick at all, dude. Egbuka.
He's my wide receiver, too.
Yeah.
Zach's wide receiver 1. You know,
this is Zach's wide receiver 1.
Yeah. And I
forgot that.
Yeah, he was their 1. And I understand that people are like, oh, we need a game changer. It's the 15th pick. You know, we've gotten a lot. Zach Martin wasn't some game changer. He was just a plug and play starter that became an all-pro player at a guard. Well, you're probably getting a Pro Bowl wide receiver at the 15th pick and a guy to pair with CeeDee Lamb who does all the little shit.
Yeah.
So I think he makes every element of your offense better immediately.
And what's funny, it's people might forget this, but CeeDee Lamb's first couple of years in the NFL, he did not do all the little stuff, and that was kind of holding him back. And then once he started doing it, that's when he elevated to the player he is now. Ibuka could already just step in and already do all those little things, and then be what CeeDee Lamb is those first 2 years.
I would trust Ibuka to get open and know what to do as much as I would Lamb, and Emeka Ibuka's a rookie. Now, CeeDee Lamb's much more talented.
Yeah.
So, he'll make it a little bit easier. But on that 3rd and 6 play, when you got to have a first down, Emeka Ibuka finds the hole. 3rd and 3, and you got to do a run. Emeka Ibuka is the one who lead blocks inside to get your guy the 3 yards you need. He does all that little shit. People are not going to care where we drafted him when they see what he adds, especially people who watch shows of people who watch film, because Watch is going to be coming on every week. Skywalker every week. Broadus every week. Look at this. Look what he did. Look at this play was set up because he did this. Look at this 3rd down grab. Look at how he ran this route to make sure he got the first down on 3rd and 7. He got 9 yards. He's one of those dudes.
All those mistakes that Jalen Tolbert made his rookie year won't be happening with Ibuka.
Yes, exactly.
All right, pick 16, your Arizona Cardinals. Mike, who do you got?
I don't like them. I got them taking Mike Green, defensive end from Marshall. They need some pressure. They need some edge rush. They need a bunch of stuff, but edge rush is good. They have a tight end. It's around that time where Tyler Warren should be going. He should not drop this far.
Yeah.
But he has, and his time will come eventually.
Okay, here are the Bengals. I mean, I've got to think we're going defense here, yeah?
Yes. Derek Harmon.
Okay. I thought you might go secondary.
They need him. I thought about Will Johnson, but I think their strength is the defensive line, and I think building on a strength is not a bad thing when you have so many holes. If you can make one unit really good, that could help you out a lot.
Can kind of mask some of the other weaknesses.
Yes, exactly.
All right, Seattle Seahawks. I thought if Ibuka were to fall, I feel like he would be a good pick there just because of his, playing with Jackson Smith and Jigba, and the Seahawks need a receiver and everything.
Who did fall?
Matthew Golden.
Yes, sir, and that's the pick.
Man, Jackson Smith and Jigba and Matthew Golden, if he is the player everybody thinks he is, that'd be a nice duo, man.
Not bad at all. The Buccaneers need cornerback. Will Johnson's there. The fit.
Man, you think Will Johnson will fall this far?
It's possible. He could fall further than that.
Okay, here we are. Denver Broncos. They've been rumored to take a wide receiver and also a running back. Are we going to see a running back come off the board here?
We are. How about me with 2 first-round running backs? So Marion Hampton comes off the board here. A nice player for Sean Payton, can do it all, do things, all three things you need from a back. He's solid at. So I like that weapon for them.
Yes, sir. Is Jackson Dart the pick here for our Pittsburgh Steelers?
You're on it. Look at you. You're nailing this right now. That is the man.
Yeah, I mean, these are, I listen to quite a few draft gurus. I mean, obviously you read all your articles, Mike, and then listen to Vach and Foots and Brian Broaddus and the draft show and everything. So I've got my little cheat codes, but yeah, I feel like Jackson Dart is the pretty easy answer there. The Chargers, they're rumored to take a running back. Will the third running back come off the board here?
No, this is where the slide stops. Jim Harbaugh takes the tight end that can block and catch.
Yeah,
he does. He will help his quarterback. He has no issues getting a guy that's going to help him in the run game and then making plays off the run game. He lives off that. I think Tyler Warren fits. I went back through and tried to find a spot because I was like, Tyler Warren is not dropping here. I thought about Miami for Josh Simmons. If that happens, I'm going to be kind of mad at myself. And Indy was the other one.
Yeah,
but I just was like, you got the top offensive tackle possibly and the top offensive guard in the draft falling to you. Is that more valuable than the top tight end? And I decided to go with the offensive line. But I really struggle to see Tyler Warren falling this far. But we'll see.
And this would be just an excellent pick for the Chargers because they have, outside of Vlad McConkey, man, they really have no weapons for Herbert.
And he helps in the run game, which is so important to Harbaugh. He's run first, and this isn't Evan Ingram, a wide receiver. He does all that. He's a 5-tool tight end.
Yes, sir. Okay, here we are at the Green Bay Packers, and I don't know. I mean, I'm just looking at the needs here: edge, cornerback, wide receiver, DT, linebacker. Where'd you go here?
I liked edge. I saw the slip by Stewart. I don't love him, but I know he had a great razz. He has a great look, a great frame. And honestly, at 23, even I would be like, I get it. I don't want it for my team, but I get it. So I took Shamar Stewart, defensive end.
At this point in the draft, it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's a good risk for Green Bay.
Here we are with the Vikings, who, they seem to be always calculated, whether it be in their off-season, like free agent additions. They don't seem to take a lot of risk, but they always make the right move. What do you have them doing here?
Okay, so there is a really high safety on the board, but one has been flying up boards after a great combine. I think I had him in the 3rd round off his tape. His combine moved him to the 2nd for me. Nick Emmanwori from South Carolina. He's the 21st player, I think.
Yeah, they were talking, Broadus and Voch were talking about a safety the other day that could potentially be there at 44. And they were having a good discussion saying that Voch would take him at 44, but he thinks the Cowboys, in their exercise, he had the Cowboys actually taking a running back, even though he had the safety rated higher. I'm sure you saw that episode.
Yeah, that was Makuba.
Yes.
Andrew Makuba, who I would take here over Emmanwori. He's my safety 1. But a lot of people are just going to take the fact that this guy's a big-ass dude that can run like crazy and is not afraid to hit and is, he has the traits to be able to cover, even though his tape says he's not great at it. I think Malachi Starks makes more sense, but I believe Minnesota would go with the plus upside with Emmanwori.
Yeah, and I think Minnesota, I mean, they probably can afford to go with the upside pick here. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree 100%.
All right, Houston Texans, Mike, who do you got? They need a lot of offensive line help. But
if they don't take offensive line, I don't know what to tell them. So Kelvin Banks, I heard that he might slide out of the 1st round. But at 25, I mean, all your 1st-round grades are basically gone by now. I think Kelvin Banks makes sense. So that's who I went with. Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas.
They might double tap, dare I say triple tap offensive line in this draft, Mike.
It's very possible. Very possible.
The Rams, who, man, they hit on day 3 picks just like the Cowboys, and they don't mind taking risks in the 1st round either. They've done a good job, especially last year with the defensive lineman that they got. Who do you have them going here?
This was my toughest call because they're very smart drafting. And I feel like Donovan Ezunraku to pair with Verse makes a lot of sense. But I ended up picking Siobhan Ravel because he's a guy that is a 1st-round graded corner for most. But he had an injury. And I feel like the Rams will be like, I'm going to take my 1st-round guy. It's an ACL. It's not one of those crazy injuries that people don't come back from anymore. And they really need corner, especially considering they do have Verse and is Braden Frisk to build around. I think Frisk is the DT they got. Yeah, if I'm wrong, I apologize. No, but so I went Siobhan Ravel to build another young, cheap, good piece to their defense.
Yeah, their defense, I feel like, is pretty underrated, honestly. Baltimore Ravens, man, they always hit draft picks, whether it be the first round or day 3 picks. They seem to find hidden gems all the time. Are they going to take a chance on Malachi Starks? I mean, come on.
You think that, but I didn't have them do that because I love Ezeraku, Boston College pass rusher, and I just feel like they need edge rush.
Yeah.
Like for Ravens, he could be a guy that they only play on second and long and third and long, and he would still be a monster for them. And a lot of teams aren't good enough to take a guy like that in the first round because it's like, damn, we're only playing him limited snaps. But Baltimore's good enough to do that and get a monster out of it.
Okay. This sounds like a Baltimore guy for sure. Detroit Lions, he also, I feel like if he made it to the Lions, I can't see the Lions passing up on the Ezeraku either.
I think they wanted Ezeraku. I think they wanted him, and Baltimore stole their guy. And they end up going, well, who's the best guy? And they go Malachi Starks. And they have a need in the secondary. And so I went Malachi Starks. Just pick a good player.
Could you see them also maybe going to Jahad Campbell?
The worry is Jahad Campbell has some injury issues that might knock him out of the first round. It might knock him out of the top 50. He's got some wear and tear on him, and so I would look for him to go somewhere in the 40 to 60 range now.
Gotcha. Okay, here we are, the Washington Commanders. They've had an active offseason as well. Who do you got them taking?
This could be a scary pick here for them. I got them taking Luther Burden III. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury gives a shit about attitude. He wants weapons around his quarterback. And you put him with Terry and I'm trying to think, the kid De'Ami Brown, is he there? They have another.
No, he signed with Jacksonville. But they've got Debo and they've got McLaurin and they've got Ertz and Benson and
yeah, Debo, that's one. So I went with the receiver there, Luther Burden. Get him a playmaker.
Yeah, I feel like I was watching somebody do a draft and they were talking about Burden being a potential McLaurin replacement.
It could be, yeah. McLaurin, 2 years from now, he could be the guy.
Yes, sir. All right, pick 30, the Buffalo Bills.
They need some stoutness up the middle on their D-line. I had them pick Kenneth Grant. It may not be sexy, but the man is hard to move. And when you get one of those guys in your middle, it helps you in a lot of ways on defense, and they need it.
When you hit on a guy like Josh Allen, man, I think you just kind of play it safe after that just to build smartly around a guy like that, don't you think?
Yeah, and I thought receiver, but they're doing well enough on offense. They need to be able to stop people and rebuilding that defensive line. Put him next to Ed Oliver.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Pretty impressive what they've been able to do with their pass game when you think about the receivers that they have.
Yeah, it really shows how good Josh Allen is.
Yeah, it does. It really does. 31, the Kansas City Chiefs, man, their offensive line was pretty much exposed there in the Super Bowl. What do you have them doing here?
Donovan Jackson, the guy I said might sneak into the first round. This was the pick I was thinking. Makes a lot of sense to me.
Is this their biggest need for you, the offensive line?
Probably. Well, you got to worry about Ray Rice coming off injury and what the hell is happening with Worthy, but probably.
Nice. Okay, 32nd overall pick, the Philadelphia Eagles. I know you mentioned Jahad Campbell probably falling out of the top 50 because of injuries, but he sounds like an Eagles guy as well.
People are going to hate me for this pick. But I see them looking at it and going, how can we keep Jalen Hurts, still killing? Give them a third weapon. And if they have issues with A.J. Brown, it's something they can move. So I had them pick Jalen Noel, Iowa wide receiver. He's a little bit lower. I think he's like 50.
Oh, wow. Really making it all the way to the first round. Interesting. He's a top 50 player, but you see that all the time, man.
He had a really good combine, and he has good – Iowa State, you have to do kind of the little things there.
Right.
He's a nasty third wide receiver. And I thought about going with a bigger guy, but if they do that, they might make A.J. Brown more of a malcontent. Like, why are you picking a guy that does what I do? Yeah. So I thought about get a guy that works with him And then the hope is that you get, you can get enough production that if he's a pain in the butt, you can move on. The one could be your X. Noel could be can move and play the slot in the Z if you need to. And then you could work on getting a bigger wide receiver later on.
Yeah, man, he would add a very interesting wrinkle to that offense when you think about what AJ Brown can do, and then what Saquon Barkley can do, and obviously what Devonta Smith can do. Man, adding the speedster like Noel, that's scary.
And he's not. And the thing is this is not a knock on him because the rest of their team is so great that Jalen Hurts, who's still a good quarterback, is their liability. So how do you make your weak spot strong? With 3 good wide receivers, a good offensive line, a great running back, and 2 good tight ends around him, and make things easy on him. And then use the rest of the draft to maybe you build up your defense where there's holes, maybe catch a right tackle in the 2nd or 3rd round that could eventually be Lane Johnson's replacement. Like they're so good at team building that it makes drafting easy for them.
Right. So I'm curious, how much of this will change from now to draft time, do you think, this first round for you?
It'll change some. I would say I think Dallas might trade further back. Somebody might move up for quarterbacks. I just didn't feel the need to move up. I was like, I mean, who's coming up past Pittsburgh and getting Jackson Dart? You know what I mean?
Exactly,
I thought, okay, Shedeur Sanders I moved up for because it makes sense. But, I just I like the moves, but I think there would be 6 or 7 significant changes.
You got to think also quarterback needy teams. If like a quarterback doesn't fall to them, they're like, well, maybe I can go and get Kirk Cousins, or maybe I can just bring in Aaron Rodgers for a year,
Yeah, well, I mean, according to some, man, now that Joe Milton's on the team, Dak's available.
Are you serious? Oh, I'm like, whoa. For a second, I'm like, Joe Milton. Okay, hold on. That name sounds familiar.
That would set us back money-wise so much.
Losing your franchise quarterback, how far back would that set you, man?
Yeah, that would be a lot. Well, we'd have Milton would be the franchise quarterback, obviously.
Do you think, though, in 3 years that Milton could potentially be the Cowboys franchise quarterback?
The thing is, you do want to find your quarterback. So if he is, that's great. But then you've lost the cheap rookie window with the quarterback, which is what like Jalen Daniels and those teams do when they win. Joe Burrow, the way he got to the Super Bowl, Purdy, the way he did, Hurts, the way he did, because his cap hit hasn't really kicked in yet, because they extended him early. So, yeah, I just I don't know. I mean, if he is great, sign him. You got your next guy for the next 10 years. But, man, it would suck because our team uses those contracts as an excuse not to go get free agents. And I guess it's good to just get the quarterback because even with cap money, they don't do anything with it anyway.
Right. And what I would think, though, is that let's just say Dak in 3 years from now, Dak has, been injured so much that he can't play anymore. They would do like a Jordan Love type of thing where you've developed this guy and you sign him to a 1-year deal to see if he has it. And if he has it, you pay him the money. If he doesn't, well, you're out like $5 to $10 million and you just go back on the hunt.
I don't know why would Joe Milton's people allow that? Like, if you've seen enough to where you're like, okay, we want to see this guy for a year, like to be the starter. Yeah. Why would his agent be like, oh yeah, we'll take a 1-year deal? Like, I feel like he would try to get him paid unless he's like, there's no market out there for him. So he can get paid for a decent amount for 1 year and then get the big deal. But I don't know.
Now that you say that was kind of surprising that Jordan Love even went that route,
Yeah, it is. I'm surprised they did. It worked out for him.
Yeah, it did. Well, Mike, this was a fun exercise, man. I didn't expect some of these picks. I definitely didn't expect the Cowboys trade, but I enjoyed it, man. And it, didn't seem like you made any sort of outrageous, unlikely moves either.
The Eagles receiver one. They have such a loaded team that I was like, what's a spot that I could sneak a guy in? And I just felt like the way Jalen Noel flew, like how he reads that. He follows that stuff, guys going up and doing stuff like that. So, like, I feel like if Nick Amamwari was there, that would be thanks, Jordan. I appreciate that, man. I feel like he would be a guy that Howie would get. They need a safety. Charlie Garner Johnson is gone, and so I feel like a move like that would work, and Noel fit that, so I went with it.
Yeah, for a second there, I was kind of looking at Walter Nolan. I'm like, this kind of also kind of seems like a guy that might just kick the tires on.
He is going to be a early. They could get him there. Walter Nolan would make a lot of sense, or Tyleek Williams if they're like, we're not going to sign Jordan Davis. We need the next guy after this year.
Right.
That makes sense too.
Well, Mike, before we get you out of here, I know you've been pumping out those articles. What's the next article people can expect to see from you?
I've already done the top 5 running backs, but it hasn't dropped yet. I have it's in the editor's office, so that should be out today or tomorrow. And then I'm turning in top 5 DTs tonight, probably, if not tomorrow early. And then I'm doing every position. So I'm doing it I did wide receiver first, because I thought that was our biggest need. Then I did defensive end, because that's what I've heard Dallas is after early, is either wide receiver, defensive end. And then I did running back, because obviously everybody knows we need a running back. I'm doing DT. So next will probably be cornerback.
Interesting. Have you heard any names associated with the Cowboys? Not necessarily first round that, the Cowboys seem to like.
Oh, my boss hates me. No, I mean, I know that people say they like Will Johnson for his size, but I haven't really heard anyone overly like, oh yeah, Will Johnson at 12. Jahdae Barron is a guy that doesn't have the length, so I don't believe he'll be a guy there. I think second round I think they want wide receiver early, and then second round they want to go defensive end, and then if defensive end isn't the right value, cornerback.
Interesting. Well, looking forward to seeing all that. I really want to see your top 5 running backs, because I feel like there might be a name in there not a lot of people might not expect.
Yeah, there is. There definitely is. I definitely have a different order than most, for sure.
Well, can't wait to see that. Mike, before we get you out of here, where can we find you on Twitter?
CD Piglet, guys, nice and easy.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. We appreciate you joining us, and we will see you guys next week.